Hello friends, welcome to another video on my YouTube channel, and in this video we are going to cover another approach that we can use for context window management, that is summarization. So in our last video we saw how we were using sliding window approach to keep our conversation history under the context limit, and that has some problems. For example, if you have some important instructions at the start of the chat, at time that will go away and LLM may hallucinate after that. So here we are using a different approach. Here, instead of deleting the messages from the start of the chat, we are summarizing the messages and keeping the summary of a particular message in our chat instead of keeping the whole conversation as it is. So as you can see here, we have again a similar method that we have seen in the previous video, which is estimating the tokens. And here we are using again the same approach of dividing the total length of text by 4. Then we have a summarize method, which is the end of summarizing our total text. So here I've just kept the summarize method hard coded, like based on the messages that I am providing in the demo. So this approach will not work obviously in the production. In the production, you will mostly be using LLM to summarize the conversations. So there are different approaches, different ways to summarize the conversation history while using the LLM. So that I will be covering in the future videos as some advanced concepts. For this video, I'll just go with this hard-coded summarize method, just to make you understand what summarization is. So here I've just put some hard-coded rules based on if-else condition, which I am saying if the sentence contains something like this, my name is, I'm just keeping it as it is, or if it contains something like I am building, I am keeping this as it is, the message that is present in the list, and if it contains something explanation, then I'm just taking the first 50 characters out of it and keeping it. For all the other messages, I'm just storing the first 50 characters and removing everything else. So as you can see, this is not a very good way to summarize the text. So mostly the use of LLM will be much better here. So we'll be seeing all about that in the future videos. There are 5 to 6 ways that you can use LLM to summarize the text. We will see that in the future. So here, after doing all this processing for a particular message in this list of messages, I'm just storing them in the facts. So for each message, I'm summarizing the message, storing that in the facts array, and then I'm just adding it to the previous summary that is coming as a param in the summarize method. So here in the summarize method, I'm sending the list of new messages as well as the previous summary, and after summarizing all the messages that is present in the list, I'm just adding it to the previous summary present here and returning the new summary. Now we have again the same data class which contains a message as well as the tokens, and then a summarization memory class. So this again inherits the base chat message history class. So the implementation will be very similar as we have seen in the previous video. This is our init method, which has the same implementation as the previous video, where we are initializing our summary, current tokens, total process tokens, max tokens, and everything. Now we just have a new variable called summary. Clear now clears the messages, current tokens, and the summary. Now in the add messages function, for each message that is coming in the list, we are estimating the tokens. Then we are creating the memory entry using that message and the tokens that message contains and appending it to the message list. Like the previous video, we are just calculating our current tokens and the total process tokens. Now, as we have seen in the previous video, if the current tokens is greater than the max tokens, the max token limit, then we are optimizing our memory. In the last video, we were calling a method here which was using sliding window approach to optimize our memory. In this one, we will be calling a different method called summarize, which will use this method, summarize method, to summarize our conversations and store that in the local memory. So if you will observe here in this method, we are calculating some old and recent message variables. So recent message is the messages that we want to keep as it is. We have set up this limit while initializing the class. So if you will go to the top in the init, we have some keep recent messages which we have initialized to 2. So what will happen? Let's say if you have 10 messages in your memory at a time, and while calling this function, summarize function, it will just take the top 8 messages and summarize them, and it will just keep the last 2 messages as it is for your chat. So what we are doing here, we are just taking all the older messages that is present in our messages list, and then we are just taking the recent messages that we want to keep as it is, and we are calling summarize method on all our old messages and storing that as a summary. Then after this happens, we are just uh, updating the messages to the recent messages and also updating the current tokens to the total number of tokens that the current messages or these recent messages take. So if you will go line by line, here I'm just taking all the old messages. So let's say if you have 10 messages in your messages list, then I'm just taking the first 8 because the key recent message value is 2 by default. Then the recent 2 messages will go into the recent variable. For all the old messages, I'm calling the summarize method and keeping the summary inside my summary variable. Then as we have now summary on 8 messages, we do not need to keep that in our messages list. So we are updating our messages list to the recent conversations that we want to keep. And then also we are updating our current tokens to the total amount of tokens that these recent messages have. As you know, all this recent and old, they all contains a list of this data entry, right? So if I go above this data class, this memory entry is present as a single message in this list, right? So we are just calculating the total number of tokens using uh, that our recent messages take, and we are just updating our current tokens to that. So I hope this is clear. You can just go through this implementation once again and it's easy to understand. Now again we have some printing methods which shows us the users, which shows us the memory and the statistics about the total memory. So let's quickly jump into the demo. So here I'm again creating a class of summarization memory with maximum tokens as 120, and I have a list of conversations, hard-coded conversations. I'm not using LLM here, but you can definitely integrate it with LLM. Like you can just integrate LLM here, and you can just pass the actual answer that is written by the LLM to your memory class and see how the summarization works. So for each conversation that is present in my chat, I'm assuming this conversation has already happened with the LLM. For each message that is present in the conversation, I'm just calling my memory to add user message and add AI message based on the role present in this. Then we are just showing the final memory state. So let's just implement this. Let me run this cell and let's run this cell. So let's quickly jump into the output. So in this demo, the first message came. Again, the number of tokens are 6 because we are taking the same approach of dividing it by 4 to calculate the total number of tokens. Then as soon as the token start increasing, let's scroll down. Okay, so now this for this 120 token limit, I think it doesn't reach the limit. So here we have 104 tokens till the last message. I think this is the last message. Let me quickly check. Yeah, this is the last message, right? So we didn't hit the limit. As you can see, right now the summary is empty, no summary yet. So we have all the messages in our present in the memory. So let me decrease the limit from 120 to let's say 60. Let me do that. So let me just reduce it to 60 and run it again. Now this time, as the number of messages are coming, the limit will the total number of tokens present in the memory will exceed, which is happening here. So here with this message, the total number of tokens in the messages list is 48. Then with this, it increased the maximum limit of 60 to 61. Now token limit has exceeded and now we are summarizing our messages. So our recent messages are these 6. Then summary is updating, and after the summarization, this is our summary that we are storing, and we have this recent messages list as this present. As you can see, we have keep the recent messages list to 2. As you can see, the recent 2 conversations are kept as it is in the messages list, and in the summary, this is present as a summary. So obviously, we are not generating a summary in a very good way. So this looks like the chat itself. So if you will go above to the implementation of the summary method. So as you are aware that in this, we are if the user is telling about name or something like this, we are just keeping the text as it is. Else we are just taking the first 50 characters, right? So that is why this is looking like the recent chat. It's not a bit different, but this is what this is for this demo. And then further in the further demos, I'll just improve this approach to use LLM to summarize the messages. So right now, our summary just contains the first 4 messages, which are these, and then the last two last two are coming in the recent messages. So now, when the next prompt you will send to LLM, you will send these recent messages as a chat-based memory, and you can just send this summary of the previous conversation. It does not need to be the whole conversation. It will be just a combination of the summary of the previous conversations and the recent conversation. So now again, after this, uh, for the further messages, it again start working. So we have 58 tokens now for with the next message. Then we have 68. So again, the token limit exceeded. Now the summarization will happen again. So right now, summary is like looking like this. It contains 4 messages, and our list of messages contains now 4 messages again. So as you can see, the first 2 are coming from the recent conversations that we have seen above, and 2 new messages came, right, which is explain supervised learning, and then this sure let's discuss step one by one. So after the summarization is called, this is how things are looking. Now our summary contains first 6 messages, and these recent 2 messages, the last 2 messages that came to our memory, they are coming as a recent messages and are preserved as it is. So this is how summarization works. So this is one approach you can take for summarizing the conversation history. There are various other approaches that you can also take. We will be discussing them in the further videos. So at the end, this is your end result. This is your summary. These are your recent messages, and this is your statistic. Like summary tokens contain 70. Your recent tokens that are present in the message list contains 43. Total number of tokens are 113, and messages written. This is the messages that are present in the conversation history are 2, because at the end we have only 2 messages in our conversation history. Total number of tokens which we have processed is 104. So I hope this is clear. Let me make one thing clear, that instead of hard coding the summarization logic here, you can just directly use LLM. You can just put a LLM here, and you can just ask LLM to summarize the conversation list. You can just pass this whole list in a prompt to the LLM, and you can ask the LLM to provide a summary of it in some particular amount of words. Let's say you can ask LLM that summarize this conversation in 200 words. You can just put the token limit in LLM while creating the LLM and all those things, and you can just definitely use it here instead of doing it hard coded way. So I'm not doing that in the demo. I'll just leave that as a homework to you, because I have already shown you how to call LLM and how to create an LLM object in LangChain. You can just do it on your own. You can just create a LLM object, and instead of doing this, you can just call it like using the LLM.invoke method. You can create you can write an system prompt and a user prompt, and in the user prompt or in the system prompt, you can just pass the summary, and in the user prompt you can pass the conversation along with the new message that is coming from the user, and extract the summary from LLM, and then update your summary variable by using that. So we'll be seeing that, we'll be obviously seeing that in different approaches. Like there are different ways that you can use it. Like you can either summarize the whole conversation again and again, or you can just divide the conversation in 2 parts and summarize the old conversation and keep the new conversation intact. There are different approaches that you can use LLM to summarize things. We'll be seeing them in the future videos. So this is all for this demo. I hope things are clear here. At least the basic things are clear here. Because if these are not clear, it will be difficult to understand more advanced concepts on this. So please go through this video again if you have any confusion, and I would suggest to implement this thing on your own. Like just go to the video, pause the video, write the code on your own, and try to integrate LLM on your own as well. Because if you will do that, then all the further videos will be like super easy for you. So I will just suggest you to get your hands dirty and write code on your own, not copy paste. Or first write the code on your own, like a old way. Then you can maybe use some AI to optimize your code, or maybe suggest some improvements in that. So first do things on your own. This will make you learn more reliably, and it will help you to remember the concepts for a long time. So I would advise that. So that is all for this video. In the next video, we will be seeing another approach to handle the context management. Till that time, please like, share, and subscribe, and have a nice day.